Protecting Romania's forests from illegal logging is a deadly business.
They were punching and kicking to kill, no doubt.
And there's one word on everybody's lips.
The mafia.
The mafia.
O mafie generalizată.
Do you believe there is timber mafia?
This billion-euro industry is being monitored by a network of scientists and foresters.
Vreau să vă raportez și un transport ilegal de cherestea.
Too close, we're too close.
And time is running out to protect the last untouched wilderness in Europe.
This is not the Wild Wild West, it's the Wild Wild East. When you visit the national park, you expect to see big trees, nice scenery, plenty of silence. But they were putting down giants, really gigantic trees. I see death coming here.
I'm in the Carpathian Mountains. I've come here to meet Gabby Pawn, who runs an environmental group called Agent Green that monitors the impact of legal logging on these forests.
Oh my God, this is like breaking soon, it's so fully loaded. Păi e o zonă turistică, de ce nu vă mutați în altă parte?
Fiindcă noi aici am cumpărat și pădure și lemn.
Cum să nu? Că ține de activitatea firmei și firma poate să taie și în altă parte. E un parc național aici.
Noi cât timp exploatăm din punct de vedere legislativ legal...
Domne!
Romania is home to some of Europe's last virgin forests. Many of these ancient woodlands are completely untouched, and new species are still being discovered here. By encouraging logging in these forests, the government's put itself on a collision course with the European Union.
This forest is the beneficiary of protection by European law. It just doesn't mean anything for the Romanian authorities. They just approve logging like this would be any other ordinary forest.
These forests absorb 63 million cubic tonnes of carbon a year. That's more than 3.5 times than those in the UK. But they're disappearing at an alarming rate to feed Romania's multi-billion-euro timber industry.
So it's absolutely huge. What kind of tree is this?
This is a gigantic fir tree. It's like a home for a family of foxes, or even a bear can make his nest over winter now. Cutting such a tree is a crime against biodiversity. There are not many trees like this left in Europe. This is a rarity. And the very reason that giants like these are being constantly cut in Romania is organized crime structure. It's not the Wild Wild West, it's the Wild Wild East, and it's within the European Union.
Wood is a way of life here. Around half of households use it to heat their homes, but for every tree cut down legally, another is stolen. The EU has launched legal action against the Romanian government for failing to protect these forests from illegal loggers. And nowhere is this more acute than in the northern county of Suceava.
We've just got a tip off that there's some illegal logging going on nearby, so we're on our way to see what's going on.
I'm with Dan, a government forester turned whistleblower.
Cred că vom găsi metoda cel mai des întâlnită în ultima vreme de furt din pădure. Una trec în documente, iar în realitate extrag mai mult decât cam așa ceva.
He's taking us to meet Victor, a forester for the government agency that logs this land. An insider.
Conform documentelor pe care le deținem în prezent, lucrarea de exploatare, efectiv lemnul de recoltat ar fi fost recoltat. Asta însemnând că în pădure n-ar trebui să avem masă lemnoasă neexploatată.
This forest is owned by the state and managed by government foresters. We're looking for marks on the trees, a sign they should have been cut down and taken away. Ah!
That one, the fallen one. Arborii de aici n-ar fi trebuit să fie, pentru că faptic, scriptic ei sunt transportați deja.
Dan is suspicious. He checks whether the trees have been accurately sized in the official records.
So it's 54 centimetres, right, in the system?
Da.
Okay.
Iar aici are 60, 60 and
56.
56. Acest arbore are un diametru mediu la 1,30 de 58 de centimetri, mai mare cu 4 cm decât au înregistrat ei în actele.
4 centimetres may not sound like a lot, but by undersizing trees, the foresters able to mark more of them for harvesting than actually needed to fulfil the order. The surplus is then left in the forest to be collected later and sold illegally. Victor knows this happens because he's seen it here before.
Toată zona asta pe care o vedeți, după pârâu și mult încolo, a fost marcată de șeful de ocol.
How much was the volume of wood undervalued by?
2000 de metri cubi, peste 2000 estimați la acea perioadă și o valoare la prețul pieței de peste 200.000 de euro.
200,000 euros.
Even though the Ministry of Environment agreed with Victor that government foresters had been involved in illegal activity, justice has been slow.
Totul a rămas exact cum este, cum a fost anul trecut prin decembrie.
Dan reports what he's found. The police turn up with government foresters who manage this site, and they're not happy to see us.
Nu aveți ce căuta fără noi în pădure. Simplu.
Dar oare ei n-au venit...
Să cobor și eu din apartamentul dumneavoastră, să cobor scările, să spun că am găsit...
Păi nu, comparația nu mi se pare ok, aici nu e casa dumneavoastră, știți?
We follow the police to the forestry office. They later confirm what we saw today was illegal and issued several fines. But Dan also discovers something interesting. The forester who tried to steal 200,000 euros worth of wood last year, the one that Victor reported, has not only kept his job, he's since been made responsible for the new illegal site we've just uncovered.
So it's a serious crime and it's actually the state that's doing it.
Nu poți să extinzi suprafața unui pădurar pe care în mod teoretic ar trebui să-l suspenzi după ce a fost prins cu ceva. Deci asta dovedește corupția sistemică din silvicultură. Mecanismul care s-a format și care continuă să existe, deci e o mafie generalizată.
Timber Mafia is a term often used to describe the links between illegal loggers, members of the forestry office, and even politicians, including a former minister. These powerful networks have been blamed for some of the 650 attacks on foresters in the last decade. Victor believes that he's become a target.
Oh my God. What does this mean?
I'm gonna kill you, Vaslui activist. My parents are from Vaslui.
Oh my God. And they wrote that on your bedroom wall.
Persoanele care au intrat în brigadă, au spart efectiv brigada, locuința de serviciu. Câteva documente n-am găsit, câteva sticuri de memorie și alte obiecte de inventar.
Wow. There's even more in here. Wow. What does this mean?
Marș în în Vaslui, de te prind, te omor. Eram cu soția, ea era însărcinată în perioada respectivă. Am venit, ea se speria foarte tare, a început să plângă. Atunci m-am gândit că cel mai bine ar fi a fost și ideea ei să plecăm.
Victor and his wife have good reason to be scared. 6 foresters have been murdered, all of them presumed to be killed by those who profit from illegal logging.
Can you give me an example of one of the times that you were followed?
Am văzut un pic de activitate, cumva că se deplasau, dar nu neapărat pe cineva anume. Și după aceea dându-mi și câteva nume de persoane care spune el că m-ar fi vrut mort. Bine, există variante că altădată cineva a vrut să dea cu mașina peste mine și să rămân în scaunul cu rotile ca un alt activist din zonă, etc.
They've threatened you, they've harassed you. What keeps you going?
Și fapte de genul ăsta. Lucru care m-a făcut să continui este probabil că vreau să demonstrez ceea ce sunt și să nu-i las să câștige. Să nu las să câștige războiul ăsta.
In an attempt to crack down on illegal logging, the government launched an app called Suceava, which requires every timber truck driver to upload tracking information for every journey they take.
So we've come out this morning to see if we can find any trucks carrying wood illegally. Dan, what are the indicators of someone cheating the system?
Și o altă metodă, cea mai gravisimă, este aceea de subevaluare a lemnului din pădure.
This screen grab of an illegal transport shows a truck loaded with timber, but the driver's claiming there's less than a single tree's worth on it.
Este o subdimensionare grosolană. Deci fotografia nu este corespunzătoare cantității.
A truck loaded with raw wood and processed timber rolls by, and Dan springs into action.
Bună ziua, de la poliție.
Dan Turiga mă numesc. Vreau să vă raportez și eu un transport ilegal de cherestea. Deci e un camion cu culoare verde la cabină și camionul e cu cherestea, iar remorca e cu lemn.
We can see the truck in the distance. There's just one car between us.
Care nu are fotografiile urcate în sistem, ceea ce înseamnă că este un transport lipsit de proveniență legală.
The driver's also not turned on the GPS tracker, meaning this wood is totally invisible to the system. Once it reaches the timber yard, it could vanish without a trace.
Nu trebuie să fim vizibili, știi? Stăm la distanță.
Dan's concerned that the driver might spot us following and register the transport.
Two guys, too close. We're too close. Too close.
Can you hide it? Can you hide, please? Hide the camera. There you go.
We follow the truck for 30 kilometres. Dan's in constant phone contact with the police, but the driver still hasn't uploaded information to the system. The police intercept the truck just before it disappears into a timber yard, and they're speaking to the driver when we arrive.
How much do you think all of this could be worth, roughly?
Valoarea de piață cea mai mică pe care o estimez este undeva la 3.000 de euro pentru cherestea și 1.500 de euro pentru lemnul netransformat în cherestea.
This timber is worth up to 3 times the average wage of a truck driver, so it's a risk that many are willing to take. But this driver seems rattled. The transport suddenly appears in the system.
După ce a apăsat butonul Start Transport, ne apare și nouă, știi?
Nici n-am putut să intru în aplicație acolo, dar v-am arătat.
Nu acolo.
Acolo n-am putut să intrăm nici noi.
Nici eu.
Nu, dumneavoastră ați dat acolo, ați dat după ce v-a oprit poliția.
Niciodată.
Acolo, da.
Da.
Niciodată. Nu.
Păi uitați-vă aici.
Păi cum să dau? Îți arăt
După ce ați fost oprit.
Păi, nu-i problemă.
Păi este problema asta, să știți.
Vom lua măsuri.
The company's owner turned up and was willing to speak to us.
Do you think the Suceava app can be cheated?
Nu poate fi păcălit cu siguranță, nu mai poate fi păcălit, nu poate fi, dar erori mai fost. Atunci.
Days later, the police confiscated the wood and the truck and opened an investigation. This app was supposed to mark a turning point in transparency in a country dogged by accusations of systemic corruption, but journalist Krina Barsh had to fight for years to access its data.
From the government's point of view, I mean, they say that this is one of the most transparent systems in the world.
But the data is only available for 72 hours. Real transparency is providing all the data, so we can have a look over time. Who's logging how much, where.
She made several requests for a copy of the Suceava dataset and was eventually invited to view it, but on a government computer, an experience she says was deliberately intimidating.
They were very, very aggressive against us getting the database. They said I should turn off my voice recorder. He asked me why I'm there, what company am I after, what company I want to incriminate, what obscure political interests I represent. And he also asked me whether I'm there to verify whether the color of their underpants is red. And that's his statement.
Krina was eventually able to get a partial data set. I asked her to search for the top loggers in Suceava County, where we'd witnessed multiple instances of illegal logging.
What's really interesting is that the first 5 are all the state.
What we found time and time again is that the state is involved in illegal logging. Suceava is one of the poorest counties in Romania. So we have to deduct that the wealth is not really going back to the people, it's going somewhere else.
Her dataset also reveals something about the relationship between logging and politics.
And you can see actually the highest ever logged volume is been in October 2023.
Do you think there's a particular reason why that month there was so much logging?
Well, Romania is facing a few issues. One, there's a pre-election year, and if you look at pre-election years, you would, at least even if you go on the ground, people would tell you they're logging like hell because some of that money goes to the parties.
Other industry sources told us that profits from illegal logging are being channeled to political parties, and we know that pre-election years have been deadly for foresters. 2 were killed in 2019. Gabby thinks that violence will always be a part of monitoring logging in Romania.
This organized crime structure, the mafia, at some point they got upset with me, so they went physical.
And when you say they went physical, what does that mean?
Should I give an example?
Please.
Yeah. So I heard that some corporation is chopping down the forest. Some thugs, actually, 6 of them, came and attacked us.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
They came very quickly at me and punched really hard, like heavy fighters. So they were punching and kicking to kill, no doubt.
The men who attacked Gabby were never prosecuted, and he says there's been another more recent attempt on his life.
A coffee with a bit of arsenic is not something that you expect when you order a coffee. One sip was, however, enough to bring me close to death. It took a matter of hours until I started to have pain in my chest, feel dizzy and nausea, start to get blood out of my body on every possible channels. I can't say who was behind this, but I fear that if they went that far, they won't stop.
This fear is widespread. In southern Romania, Dan introduces me to a conservationist who spoke to us on condition of anonymity.
There's a lot of mafia and a lot of money involved in forestry and getting wood out of the forest, and basically the moment they recognize you, you become a target.
They're surveying the age of trees in this forest, which is earmarked for logging.
At this size, I would estimate between 200 to 300 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you think that they would be cutting down trees like this?
Of course, this is still valuable for them, yeah?
And our argument here is that there shouldn't be any logging permits here. This is what we say is the definition of an old-growth forest. These trees are very rare throughout Europe. This is just an amazing habitat for a whole bunch of species that are depending on old forest. Birds, bats, a multitude of insects. Then we have fungi and all sorts of other species. This is exactly the type of habitat that must be strictly protected.
Romania's forests are some of the most biodiverse in the world, home to iconic species like the brown bear and the Carpathian lynx. Once these habitats are destroyed, the wildlife that lives here will no longer have a home, and it's already happening.
But this is technically the most sort of sustainable way to forest. I mean, there's not really even that much still left standing.
Old growth forests are being replaced with plantations of a single tree species, converting 1,000-year-old ecosystems into monoculture cash crops. overnight.
All of this paints a picture of a logging industry that's both corrupted and corruptible, with those at the top cashing in while anyone who speaks out is facing a system that's just stacked against them.
I've come to ask the Secretary of State for the Environment what his government's doing about violence surrounding illegal logging.
Do you condemn that, and what are you going to do to stop those kind of attacks?
Of course, act of violence against, let's call them environmental defenders, will be punished according to the law.
Because we spoke to a whistleblower in Suceava who, instead of thanking him for pointing out that illegal logging was going on, he's been met with intimidation.
I know about people that were threatened doing their job, but I wouldn't call it a phenomenon that is out of control.
We spoke to a journalist called Karina Boris. She said that when she asked for information, she was refused.
It's not that we don't want to publish the information. Somal contains sensitive data, like personal identification numbers or license plates of cars. When you are here in the center of the government, you need to balance all these requests.
Do you believe there is such thing as a timber mafia?
I think there is a phenomenon of illegal logging in Romania as it is in other countries. Mafia, for me, it's a term that I don't use.
This is from a European Parliament report. Illegal logging in Romania is putting the last virgin forests in Europe under threat, fueled by foreign corporate money and driven by corruption and organised crime. Do you agree with this characterisation?
No, I don't. The official records of illegal logging show that the trend is diminishing. So you don't need to catch all the thieves. You need to see how many of the companies working in this field have become better in following the law. And believe me, it's not easy to follow the law in Romania.
This ambivalence towards the impact of logging in Romania is borne out on the landscape, on patches of forest stripped away and forever changed.
We've been told that the system is broken, and it's quite hard to imagine what that actually means until you come somewhere like this and you see a forest that's been developing for hundreds of years, only to realise that all of that could be changed overnight.
Only the government has the power to stop those stealing Romania's forests from its people before its most valuable asset disappears without a trace.